Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, are you one of those people that never knows what to wear? You open up your closet, you got a ton of clothes in there, and you're like, I really don't know what I want to wear. Nothing really resonates. I'm not feeling what I got in there. Or do you go to the store, maybe the mall, maybe online? You want to buy something to wear, maybe for an event or just something that feels good, and you still can't figure out what that is. Maybe you don't even know what your style is. We all have an independent style. We're going to talk about all of that today, and she helps lots of people figure their style out, figure out their wardrobe and their brand in terms of what they present in terms of image. She is a style consultant and image expert, and she's with us today. Fiona McAllister is on the program. Welcome. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for having me today.
I'm embarrassed. I feel like I should have dressed. I have a t-shirt on. Don't judge. Please don't judge. But you know what? This is kind of me. Like, I feel comfortable wearing a t-shirt. Not for everything, of course, but
Yeah.
that's kind of my thing. And I've tried all different shirts and things. And it's like a lot of times I gravitate to what makes you feel comfortable. What is style when it comes down to that, Fiona? Like what really is style for people?
It's kind of a combination of things, right? So when we think of style, most of the time we think about kind of just the outward of how somebody looks. But personal style is so much more than that. It includes how you carry yourself, includes even your thoughts and feelings about yourself, because all of that affects what you choose to wear, and that affects how you present yourself to the world, right? Like even your posture, your body language, all of that. So personal style kind of includes the whole of who you are as a person, I guess you could say, not just what you wear on the outside, but also the thoughts and feelings that you have on the inside. And so even though the focus of the work seems external at first, it's all very related to the internal world as well. And it's actually an emerging field that I'm specializing in, which is called fashion therapy. And so it's not just about the outside stuff, it's the inside stuff as well that I help people with. So yeah.
And I love that because that makes you different. And it's not retail therapy, but I guess it's connected to that once you figure out what you
Yes.
want to look like. But you really get deeper into the psychology of our style, what we wear, and that is all important because, like you said, it really starts from within. We don't just say, I'm going to wear a t-shirt, I'm going to wear that shirt. No, there's a reason that you did. And you get to the, I guess, the bottom line of all of that, right?
Yeah. When I'm working with my clients, we examine all of those psychological reasons as well, not just the well, I mean, it all stems from psychology to begin with, right? Because how we look and how we present ourselves on the outside, like I've already kind of touched on, is all
Sure.
about how we feel about ourselves on the inside. And I mean, it's fascinating to me that a lot of people that I have to explain this connection, but once I start talking about it, people are like, oh yeah, I guess I do kind of dress by my mood a little bit, right? And who you see yourself as in the world. So somebody who and the kind of jobs we have all affects how we dress, right? And how we want to be seen by people in the world. So it's about self-presentation as well as the inner thoughts about how we think about ourselves. And I mean, I've been doing this work for 11 years now. And I have both men and women clients. And it's just so fascinating to me because when I did my master's thesis on the emotional connection that women have with clothes, I mean, I just wasn't as aware that it's such a thing for men too. Um, but I had a male client just a couple of weeks ago who we went shopping with after I'd done his color analysis and the rest of those things. And he was constantly wearing clothes that were too big for him. And I said, I tried to be kind, but I was like, these clothes don't suit you. I mean, you might have the right kind of colors, but they're like 3 sizes too big and they make you look shabby. And, so he was just like, it took him a little bit of time to open up psychologically, I guess you could say, to explain to me what that process was for him. And he said, well, I just feel like I'm too heavy. And he really wasn't a heavy guy. He might have had a little bit of a belly, but nothing huge, right? Like that's not the first thing you would notice about him at all, was how big he was, because he wasn't.
Sure.
But he was carrying that insecurity around with him. And so he wore clothes that he thought hid that. But they didn't. They just made him look shabby because they were 3 sizes too big. And when I had him try on clothes that fit him when we were at the store, um, he was like, okay, I have to get over my feeling that this just shows off my body. I'm like, well, yeah, it does, but that's the point. Is like it shows off how nice you look in clothes that fit you.
Totally got it. And I can completely relate to that. When I was a kid, I was bullied and I was chunky. I was a bigger kid. And now when I shop for anything, even if it's a t-shirt, I'm very particular and it's got to fit me. And it's not, it's 3 sizes too big. It's I'll order a bunch of stuff on Amazon, even if it's t-shirts. I'm using that as an example for fun.
Yeah, sure.
It's so easy to return them. So I'll get, I don't like the way that fits. I don't like them. That one could be good. And even right down to jeans. I have, tons of jeans because they fit a certain way. And then, when they're discontinued, I'm like, man,
Dang it.
yeah.
Now
Oh
I
yeah.
gotta go find and
I have 5 pairs of shoes in the same color because I love them. And people actually, and they're just, I don't have them on today. I have sandals. But people have commented on them and they're just basic they're actually, I think they're called boxing sneakers, but I found them and I wanted them in gray, and guys have come up to me, he's like, hey man, nice kicks, I wish they had them in a size 18 so I could wear them. But they're probably going to get discontinued at some point. But it's interesting, the psychology of all of that. Clothes, I feel, should make you feel good about yourself. And if you can't
Absolutely.
nail, the zone of what you wear, you're just going to be misaligned in, going out into the universe. Something's not going to be right. It's a relationship, right?
It is. And that's the thing that is so fascinating to me, is that kind of like I said, when I was doing my thesis, I found that there was kind of a scale, if you will, of emotional connection that people have with their clothes. And at the very base level of that, you have the I just need to not be naked, right? And that's like at the very bottom of, or the farthest away that you can be emotionally from your clothing, so to speak. And it's kind of a continuum that goes up. And at the very top of that continuum, the closest that you can be to your clothes would be using it as self-expression and even exploration of creativity of how you want to present to the world. And there's a bunch in the middle that I can get into later on.
Sure.
But and it's always so fascinating to me because when I was doing some of the research, I had some people who had applied to be in my study, but after doing the preliminary interview or whatever, before we got them all signed on, they were just like, no, I don't have a relationship with my clothes. I just need to be clothed. And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. But
Mm.
then you're not, if you don't think about these things, then that's not who I need to be a part of my study, right? But
See, I almost I disagree with what that person said. Maybe it's
yeah,
a small relationship with your clothes, but you do have one. Even if it's just a regular dude just says, yeah, I pulled out a shirt and I grabbed that. You picked it out for a reason. You didn't just go like this, I'm going to wear anything I got there. There was a reason you picked it out. Maybe it's not that important to you as it is maybe to us, but there is some type of relationship there.
well, yeah, and that was what emerged in my research as well, is that it was like there was on that particular topic, there was a couple of things that emerged. Was there are legitimately people who just don't put that much thought and effort into it. You know, they like, I think Mark Zuckerberg says he just has 5 t-shirts or all the same teacher, all the same jeans, so that it takes the thought process out for him, right? And I'm like, okay, that's fine, but that's still a choice you've made about the relationship that you're going to have with your clothes, right?
Yes.
And if that's what you're going to do, it's going to be minimal for you, and that's fine. But it's still a relationship with the clothing and how you choose to present yourself to the world. Like, I'm sure he doesn't wear the same t-shirts to some presentation to shareholders that he wears to work every day. Do you know what I mean?
I'm totally got. Why am I wearing a t-shirt? It's kind of the same thing. And I'll tell you, I have a marketing company, and I went to see a client yesterday, and it's a low key kind of thing. And I was like, well, and I brought another shirt with me, and I was like, you know what? This is me, and it's not disrespectful. And I'm just gonna go with a t-shirt and jeans, and it was fine. It was no problem. Other meetings, suit and tie. That's different. Or I never wear a tie, so it's just gonna be, I can't even tie a tie, but don't tell anyone. I'm not even kidding. When I have to have, my friend come over and it's like, hey, can you tie this for me? And I'll just hang it here. And when I need to wear it, because ties are not important to me. I just, unless it's like,
well, and that's fine, right?
Event. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the point of what I'm trying to illustrate, is that everybody has a relationship with their clothing in some form or another.
Yep.
It's just about how emotionally close you are to your clothes, right?
For sure.
And what I try to do with people who come to see me, they're already interested in learning more about the process, right? They're interested in learning more about color analysis or style personalities or any of the other services that I do, right? And so it's just like, my goal is to help people move from the bottom of that scale, if you will, to either more into the middle or eventually to the top, if that's what they want to do, if that's how they want to have their emotional connection with their clothes, right? And it's actually, in my experience, both in doing this for the last 11 years, as well as in my research, was that people, sorry, my cat is scratching at my floor right now.
I can barely hear it, and I have two.
I just lost my train of thought there for a second.
Well, you know what? Let's look at it this way. When you work with somebody for the first time and they just want to find their zone for what they wear and define their style and really up their game from here to maybe here for whatever reason, whether it's for work, whether it's for hanging out with friends, events, whatever it is, where does it start? Is it almost like for lack of a better description, like a therapy session where you've kind of figure out what's going on?
I don't know that my clients always understand that that's kind of what's happening.
Well, that's a good thing, because then they don't, maybe they don't feel, uncomfortable,
Exactly. Because it's like, but yeah, it does kind of start out that way, and in a very mild way, right? Like, when people are coming for a color analysis, they're not coming for therapy, right? They are, but they aren't. That's not what is going through their mind necessarily when they walk through my door, right? But what happens is, inevitably, with every client that I have done over the last 11 years, when we start the process of a color analysis, we run into some kind of psychological meaning of why they're here, of what color means to them, of why they like certain colors over other colors. And all of that is psychologically driven, right? And so even though we're doing a color analysis, which appears to be an outward service, it's all about what's happened internally. Like, I've had people burst into tears when they found out what season they were, because they were like, I've always loved these colors, but my grandma said I shouldn't wear them, or stuff like that. So
tell me about that. When you say what season they are, so we all have a color palette that connects to a season. Am I getting that right?
Yes. So basically what that means is, so here's an example of how I start my color analysis process. I tell people that colors are either cool or warm based. And when you flip over the chart, you got the color wheel, so you can see that these are all the yellow based sorts of colors and these are all the blue based on this side. And then the second dimension that we look at in color analysis is intensity. So that's how bright or muted a color is. So if we have this color wheel, can you see that?
Yeah.
Kind of?
Yep.
All right. So when we have the colors on the outside here are the colors in their full saturation, which would be full intensity. And when you add black, it dulls the color, if you can see that.
Sure.
And when you add white, it lightens up the color, right? And so that's actually value. Sorry, I was getting a little mixed up. But so value is how light or dark a color is based on whether you've got black or white added. And intensity is when you add gray. I don't have gray on this color chart, but
And how do you make that determination when you look at somebody? What colors would be best for them?
well, I have fabric swatches that I hold up to their face. And so there's certain colors that are called indicators, if you will, for cool and warm. And so that's how we start that color analysis process. And what happens is when you hold up colors that harmonize with your skin tone up to your face, they'll make you look smoother and brighter. And colors that don't harmonize with your skin tone will make you look sick, blotchy, and kind of sallow. And so it's a process of elimination. Basically, we find all of the stuff that doesn't work for you, and then that puts you into the section of the color wheel, so to speak, that does work for you. And so
So I'm going to ask you, let's do this if we can. I know there are certain colors that I feel are better on me.
Okay.
Looking at my skin tone, eyes, what hair, whatever, what colors do you think would fit me best? And I'm curious if it connects to what I have in my mind that I think I look better in.
Well,
and this is, we're just using me as a blind example here.
No, I know the trick is that when I'm doing online analysis, I need usually to have pictures in certain lighting so I can get a good idea of what people's because the pixels, how they show up on or the color pixels, how they show up on your screen versus how they show up on my screen.
Totally gotcha. Yeah.
Can be a little bit different. So online is hard to do just by looking at you through the screen.
And thanks for saying that, because I forgot about that. And you can do adjustments on your screen to change what's called the color temperature. And there can be a wide variation. So what I'm looking at could be different, fair enough.
And that's why online analysis is a bit of a different process than in-person color analysis.
Gotcha. So I'm thinking that you need to get certain colors around somebody, or somebody send you pictures, so now you have them to get a baseline, because I could hold up, a certain color next to my face, a swatch, whatever, and you could say that looks horrible. But then if we were in person, oh, that actually suits you. Yeah, it's gonna be different.
And that's the tricky part about doing online analysis, is that the pictures, like I have a whole list, I guess, for lack of a better word, of how I would give people instructions on how they need to take their pictures.
Gotcha.
So that I could see how colors relate to them or not.
For sure.
And like you say, with the different filters and things that people can put on their zoom lenses or their cameras or whatever, somebody can, with a different filter applied, can look cool toned or warm toned.
Totally.
So I'm sorry I can't give you a
no, but you know what you said is so important that I didn't think of it, but and I work in graphics as well, and I'm forever calibrating the screen based on a baseline, and you just move it up a couple of notches and it totally changes the way something looks. And every camera is different, every camera you use on your computer, whatever it might be. So interesting. Why is it that somebody will wear a certain color and then look and they're just like, ew, that's not me? Are they usually right in what they're feeling? Or can they be off? It's up here again, but how does that usually work? What do you usually see when people are looking at themselves in certain colors?
My experience has been that most of the time people are drawn to colors that naturally look good on them. And when they aren't is because of some kind of psychological block. So, or
Hmm.
emotional block. So,
Hmm.
for example, I had a client a few months ago who came in and she was cool toned. So she looked better in terms of jewelry. She looked better in silvers. Um, but then she says, well, doesn't gold make me look friendlier because it's a warm color and it's inviting? And I
Hmm.
said to her, well, let's see. So I have samples of jewelry and stuff that I can hold up for people, right? And we held up the gold jewelry and the silver jewelry. I said, which one makes you look better? And she says, well, the silver does look better on me. I said, okay. So in terms of looking friendly, how do you think you're going to look more friendly, with something that makes you look healthy or something that makes you look a little sick? And she was
Hmm.
like, oh, yeah, I guess. And so we had to overcome the block in her mind that because gold is a warm tone color, that it looks more friendly. Well, it would on somebody who's got warm tone skin. But on someone who's got cool tone skin, if you're wearing the wrong color of jewelry, it just makes you look not as healthy, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to be looking friendly, you want to be looking healthy. And so, I mean, I could give you 100 examples of those kinds of things in different variations where it's the psychological idea that we have around certain colors and that we have associated with certain colors or certain styles that can really be a roadblock for people when they're like, well, my mom said I should wear this sort of color because it's this or that, whatever it meant to their mother, right? But when they come in here and do the color analysis and they find that um, that color doesn't actually look good on them, they're
Right.
like, oh, but my mom's going to be so disappointed. And I say, okay, but is this about what your mom thinks looks good about you, or is this the reality of what actually looks good on you, right? And so that's where I kind of do some counseling as well in helping people to accept their bodies, and accept what nature has given them in their colors and their shapes and even their size, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
I love that. And I never even thought that the jewelry obviously has a certain color temperature
mhm,
and it's gonna, yeah. And what you said is so important too, where accept with what you were given, but I think make the most of it by
yes,
picking the right clothes, fit, right? Color. Now I'm curious for you, what do you feel you look great, by the way,
well,
even
thank
right
you.
down to your hair. Uh, and I have a friend who has similar color, at least in our virtual screen here,
Yeah.
and her hair is kind of the same color. She experiments a little bit, deviates a little bit. Yep, the color is kind of the same. That's her thing.
Mhm.
Um, what do you think looks best on you?
Me? Well, I know that I am a winter in terms of the color seasons. And so for me, what that means is colors that are cool toned, so blue based, and that are um, medium to full intensity. So I don't
Hmm.
have a thing handy that shows
Yeah,
that, but think of,
but I'm
say,
getting
a
it.
royal blue versus like a sky blue. Okay, so the sky blue doesn't do me a lot of favors because it's a soft blue, but that royal rich cobalt royal kind of blue, I
Yep.
can wear that with a lot of um panache. I don't know, that came out wrong. Finesse, pizzazz.
Finesse,
That's
pizzazz,
what
right?
panache
Yeah,
is
yeah.
finesse and pizzazz together.
You
Pizzazz.
finesse the pizzazz to accent, whatever. Um,
Anyways, but so yeah, those are the colors that look best on me, and they make me look bright and vibrant. And in terms of um, patterns and things, I like my style personality is kind of a mixture between dramatic and creative. And so
hmm,
I like to wear um, things in unexpected ways. And I like to wear patterns that are like bold and out there. I guess you can kind of tell from my snake
mhm,
print shirt.
yeah,
um, and of course, I don't always wear that kind of thing either, right? It's like if I'm just at home doing the dishes, well, I'm going to be at home doing the dishes in my around the house clothes, working clothes, right? I'm not going to wear my nice
sure.
stuff to do something so mundane because I'm going to
Trust
ruin.
me. As soon as I get home, I change. because it's like mentally, I want to get out of the work mode, even if it's t-shirt, I'll put on, a crappy t-shirt,
That's
or
exactly right.
a pair of shorts or whatever.
So yeah,
I get what you're saying though. And what I've learned here is it's about the color, the intensity, and then the style, what you do
yes.
with the two first items within the color. And what you just said in a winter, I would think I'm far from the expert, but I would think I'm more in the winter area too, based on the colors that you're talking about. Because I have
Okay.
lighter blue, shirts, and I try them on, and it's like my eyes are blue. I think that's gonna, pop out, and I'm like, eh. I like darker, just richer. I guess it's a better word. But I think, even a black shirt would work well. And I think because I'm lighter and it just, brings out some contrast. But there's a whole psychology. We're out of time. I want to keep talking. There's like so much to learn here. Um, how does it work with you, Fiona? If somebody wants to really up their game in their style, and that doesn't mean that, they've got this high profile job that they need to dress a certain way. They just want to feel better
Better.
about themselves. How does it all work with you?
Well, basically, we start off with color analysis because that is the starting point for knowing what works and what doesn't. Because if you have the wrong color on, even if the fit is right, that is the first thing that's going to be noticed by yourself and by others.
Yeah.
People will walk up to be like, "You feeling all right today?" But the fit might be perfect, but if the color is wrong, it will make you look sick. So that's the first thing we do is color analysis. And then for my female clients, we usually will do makeup next. And then after that, we'll do
Mm.
style, personalities, and body analysis. And so that is basically going over the shape of someone's body and what types of clothes you can use to camouflage or highlight different parts of your body. Um,
Mm.
and I don't think men get a lot of it, as much attention given to them about body shapes, but the principles are still apply, and men have the same body shapes as women do. Um,
Mm.
and but yeah, the
Wow.
principles still apply. And then after that, we'll go, if people continue down the road, so to speak, I'll go shopping with them, and sometimes I'll go over to their homes and look at their closets and help them to weed out the things that don't work and help them to um, learn how to coordinate and put everything together for what they've bought or what they already have that does work. Like if they don't have a huge budget for buying new clothes, we can often get a lot done with what they already have and just teaching them how to put it together in ways that suit their body type and body shape and style personality. And I mean, it's really interesting when I have clients who continually come back for like a shopping session or whatever over a couple of years to see how their style evolves
Mm.
and their confidence too. Their confidence evolves often as well. And that's the part where it comes to like psychology, right? Is that, yeah, I just had a client last week who came back with her daughter after she did her analysis in April, I think. And she came back with her daughter and she looks like a completely different person because now she was wearing things that suited her. And just the inner confidence or shone off her because of how she had embraced the body she'd been given and the colors that worked for her instead of just being unsure, you know?
And it shows in their personality, how they carry themselves. Once they've crossed that bridge, I think would be where they figured out who they are style wise, and they feel great in their clothes. It's like a different person, I'm sure. Right?
Definitely.
Mm.
Definitely. And I mean, even though like, and I think the most rewarding thing is when I have clients who come to me when they first start and they feel like they don't, like they're just not pretty or handsome or whatever because of all of the societal messages that we've been given. You know, men are supposed to look a certain way and women are supposed to look a certain way, and if you don't have those, but the thing is like 2% of the population have the ideal body by nature. So does that mean that another 98% of us are screwed? Well, it shouldn't. But unfortunately, because of media messages and whatever, it kind of ends up being that way for a lot of us. We just think, okay, so I'm a size 10 now. I'm not a size 2 anymore like I was when I was a teenager. My worth has gone down, and it's just not true, right? But so
You gotta find you. Yeah, we're really out of time.
Yeah, sorry.
It's an amazing. I know that if I go somewhere, social gathering, whatever, and I wear just a t-shirt or I wear a shirt and I have one that has a print, it's not an animal print, but it's just a short sleeve, like summer kind of shirt. People act differently, and they actually are more friendly and outgoing when I wear a shirt that has a print on it. I watch what it's like. Even throwing a jacket on with a pair of jeans, people treat you differently. But for another topic, another day. Yeah.
Exactly.
What's your website, Fiona?
Stylebyfiona.com.
Oh, super simple. That's fantastic. Love talking with you. Love learning all about this and the psychology behind it. Because we all have a relationship with clothes and food.
Yes.
And lots of other stuff. So thank you so much for today. Look forward next time we get a chance to talk.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.